Welcome everybody to Reserve Seating. We are deep into Rob month. Second Jonathan Lynn movie in a row. We're talking about his magnum opus. Can I say it's his magnum opus or is my
Ooh,
cousin Vinny his magnum opus?
that's a question we're gonna have to debate.
And we're joined by the great Joel Edmiston. How you
Hey,
doing,
what?
Joel?
I'm great. What's up, guys? I'm so grateful to be here. Not only because I got to revisit Clue, but because I'm a fan of the show and I've always wanted to come on. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
Uh,
Yeah, we're a big fan of yours, so we're really excited to have you for the first of many future visits also. So, Rob,
yes,
it's your month.
my month.
Clue is one of your favorite movies.
Yes.
So tell us why Clue. Do you remember the first time you saw Clue? Give us the backstory.
So Clue is interesting because I was thinking about this. I most of the movies that we've talked about for Rob months and Rob weeks in the past are sort of foundational movies to me. Most of which came from my grandfather's video store. As anybody who knows my writing or knows the show knows, I grew up in a video store. My grandfather owned a mom and pop video rental store when I was a kid, and so a lot of my early first favorite movies were getting VHS tapes from there. This is the first one on this run of Rob month where this was a cable classic for me. This was a Comedy Central movie for me. I used to watch Clue the movie when it would come on Comedy Central, whether that was after school or in the late at night or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly when it would be on, but I would see Clue on cable all the time, and I would see it in pieces. And it's one of those things where, like, this is one of those movies where it's this wonderful locked door mystery that we'll talk about. Where seeing it in pieces is both really fun and also really frustrating. So I remember eventually going to Blockbuster and renting the VHS tape and then buying it pretty soon afterwards.
I can't remember what age I was, but I remember the first time I watched it. It's like a sleepover at my cousin's house, and I have an aunt who was more of a movie aunt than my other aunts. I
Mhm.
would like I don't think she was like a gigantic film nerd or anything, but she had a bigger VHS collection and she had suggested Clue. I had heard of the board game. I hadn't heard of the movie, but when she told me about it, it fascinated me that it had three different endings in the theater, or like you went to the theater and there was a different ending every time you went.
I subscribed to a newspaper website, so I went back to December 20th, 1985. It was Clue's second week, holiday
Mhm.
movie season. And in the ad, it specifically says, go to these theaters for ending A, go to these theaters for ending B, go to these theaters for ending C. And I have a sneaky suspicion that's why the movie didn't do well at the box office.
Yeah.
Because if
Hmm.
you have like a homework assignment or like you don't know which theater to go to, like because who knows, is ending A the right one, is C
Mhm.
better, is it then like, yeah, you're kind of saying, hey everybody, go see Spies Like Us or Jewel of the Nile instead. I came upon it in junior high, but I did it on movie day in my junior high where it was like end of year, and in our last week we had just all these weird themed days, and we had movie day where our our hallway basically turned into like a movie theater with like different classrooms showing a different movie. So I saw Clue in one classroom, and then after that, I'm just like, oh shit, I'm 30 minutes late for My Bodyguard, and I would watch like a little bit of it and stuff.
But the movie is so rewarding. I was just thinking about earlier, Adam, you and I were texting about like the VHS tape. You would just get all three of the endings in a row. Like it would just play all three in a row. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, the end of the movie is always watch all three, especially
Yeah.
considering, not to spoil it for anybody, but especially considering at the last ending, you get that interstitial card where it's like, this is what really happened. Like this is the actual end. Yeah, no, this movie to me is like just endlessly. It's so much a Rob movie because like I love those locked door mysteries. Like I love those. I love movies that take place in all one location. I love the way the cast bounces off each other. It's incredibly well written, um, and the performances, which we obviously have to get into, I think are so fun because they're all different, but they gradually start to gel together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love that the movie is technically an adaptation of a board game, but you could very well take the Clue branding off of this, and it would be
Mhm.
a completely solid and good movie and funny movie all on its own without any other like bullshit. Like it's not slavish to any of that.
This movie is like deliciously clever. when it
Yes.
comes to the endings, like all three of the endings, how much they work with like everything and how it ends up being like they all had a hand in each one of the murders, and how that also does tie to the board game and how fun it is, and each one of them are doing a different using a different weapon in each room.
Right.
It's like it I'm such a mystery guy. Like I love Agatha Christie, I love Sherlock Holmes and Philo Vance and Perry Mason. Like I love all that. So when like a ending is like that, like clever, and it gives you such a feeling, you just know it's
Yeah.
good. Like because I also watch a lot of bad mysteries, I read a lot of bad mysteries, and you just kind of know when the ending's not there. It's like, ah, God,
Right.
but when they give you that many good endings, it's like, oh, it makes my blood like pressure go so high in a good way.
It's also funny because we talked about Star Trek Beyond a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I love about Star Trek Beyond is the way it pairs off the cast. And like
Mhm.
I was thinking, like coincidentally, I was like, oh, this movie does that too. Where the one of the great parts of the movie is that sort of middle second act where they're all paired off, and that's
Hmm.
just it's just a fun connection.
Does
I
Clue
love
play?
the pulling matches scene.
Oh
uh
yeah, yeah.
it's just like it's like this silly scene they don't really need, but there's a great moment where uh, Christopher Lloyd is going up to everyone. He has the smallest match, and he puts it next to most obvious long match.
Mhm.
And then he's disappointed he has to go with Miss Peacock.
Does Clue play fair with its mystery? Because I am not super smart, so like I get caught up in the energy of the climax of it all, and I just at a certain point like give up on trying to keep pace with it, which I've always been curious because I'm just watching it as a comedy and enjoying the performances, but like if you were watching it as a mystery, is it playing fair with all those three endings?
So let me tell you something real quick, and this is where I reveal a couple things that I'm ashamed to reveal. I used to build the Clue mansion in The Sims.
Oh,
Yes.
So I can tell you that I've studied the architecture of the set and how the rooms connect and the pathways, and I can tell you with a reasonably upsetting amount of accuracy that it's solid.
I remember I did something similar on The Sims. I wasn't a big Sims player, but around the time I played The Sims, I remember I made Neo and Trinity, and they lived together in a nice suburban home.
So I have a Sims story also. I was not a Sims player either, but I was the victim of relationship psychological warfare via the Sims
Cool.
because I was in a fight with a girlfriend at the time, and she told me that we had made up in the Sims and we had make up sex, and then I was just in Sims. And I was just like, well, what does that mean for us? And she just kind of was like ambivalent, and I was really confused for like about a day and a half on like where our relationship stood. But in this avatar world, it was fine. We had made up.
Do you think that Sims Adam and Sims totally normal sounding girlfriend are still together in The Sims? Like if
No, I just hope that I was good in The Sims. All right, so I got a question for both of you guys. Do you? I think it's maybe too easy of a question to ask who your favorite character is in Clue the movie, but I want to ask you who your favorite character is, and then also, is there like an underrated character that you kind of gravitate to?
I would say my favorite. You were saying earlier they kind of blend together. I mean, I think Tim Curry is maybe easily my favorite, just for
Yeah.
the monologue at the end of him running around is incredible. But Madeline Kahn is maybe my underrated one for the I hated her so much.
Sims?
Flames, breathing breath. I've always really loved that line reading. Because you
Yeah.
think it might be going somewhere. You think she's gonna have this like villainous monologue, but she gets so flustered.
I agree with Tim Curry, and much like with my cousin Vinny last week, maybe unpopular opinion, I think this is my favorite. This is easily my favorite Tim Curry performance. A lot of
Mm.
guys are around our age grew up knowing Tim Curry from like It, and from like and from like Rocky Horror. I grew up knowing Tim Curry from Clue. That was always my first point of reference for Tim Curry.
For me, I think it's also because I just watched Valley Girl again about a
Nice.
month ago. I'm a big Colleen Camp in comedies guy. I think she's so funny. And this
Mhm.
part is, it's sort of like a supporting part outside of the ensemble, but she's so great with like the physical humor, obviously, and like I love that everybody's like glancing at her and reacting to her in certain ways. It's
Mhm.
really, really great.
My other favorite character, the singing telegram girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
She's in something else, isn't she?
it's Jane Wyland. Yeah,
Is
she's
she Joan of Arc?
she's Joan of Arc in
That's right.
Bill and Ted.
Oh, and Bill and Ted. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, short
Yeah.
hair.
She has a famous dancing scene in that as well.
Yeah, man.
Are there any mysteries you've seen lately that you would recommend?
Oh, okay. I'll do one. I'll do a Philo Vance one. The Kennel murder case. It kind of has a resolution that's almost as like crazy and silly as Clue. The movie itself, working up to it, is like very sort of like it's directed by Michael Curtiz, like the Casablanca guy. So,
Yeah.
and it gets to this ending that's so crazy and silly, and it's like the rest of the movie is like a regular sort of mystery, and it's kind of grainy, and like there's a bad version of it on Amazon that you can watch, but the ending is like seems to be written by a psycho, so that's why I like it.
You piqued my interest. I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will double it with Joe Dirt because I do need to watch Joe Dirt again. So before we wrap up,
Yeah.
Joel, please tell everybody about your comedy album. It's wonderful, and then also tell everybody about your Survivor podcast.
Yes. So yeah, so my stand-up comedy album is called I'm the Greatest. Thank you for your words, Adam. It's on Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music and all of those. Yeah, it was taped in 2023 and it came out near the end of 2023. It's still up there. You can listen to it anytime. And yes, thank you for queuing that up because when I was on the F This Movie podcast, I forgot to bring up that I have a Survivor podcast called the Merge Boot Podcast,
Yeah,
and we're in the throes of season 46 of Survivor right now.
excellent. And Elfing Around, is that still available?
It is still available, though I am slightly embarrassed by it, but it's still out there.
I'm
The
very
movie I
proud
made
that
in
I made it
2020.
all the way through Elfing Around. It was good.
Thank you for watching. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We will be back next week
Yes.
with another episode. It will be either wrapping up Rob Month with Rush Hour or a very special episode with special guests Patrick Bromley and Heather Wixon. So be back for either.
You're going to get both of those eventually. It's kind of
Yeah.
just what order they go in.
All right. Well, thank you, Joel. Really appreciate you
Joel.
being here. We will see you again soon.
Anytime, bro.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. This was really fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So until next time.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.